The story begins with a boy and a girl lying down. The boy was without an arm, and watching them was a strange woman who calls the boy a fool for having sacrificed his life to protect the girl, but says that he does not deserve to die that way and that he would give a chance for him to show his potential. So she touches him and regenerates his lost arm, and for some reason tattoos appear on that arm. The scene cuts with him having a nightmare where a beautiful girl was naked on top of him. I say, it was a nightmare because he woke up scared. Maybe he likes to reverse the kibbe. The anime continues with the protagonist Ash walking down the school corridor after the new semester of classes begin. After he has seen the school students start making fun of him because this is a dragon taming school, and guess what? He still hasn't awakened his dragon, even though he was already a senior. When he went up to a student who made fun of him, one of his friends holds him and says that now they are seniors, so he should have more self-control. The scene cuts to the classroom with the teacher welcoming the students and passing on the material. She explains that dragons form a special connection with their owners and only them. The owners can control them, and another student mocks Ash for not having a dragon. His friend tells him not to care about it, but wonders why he doesn't have a dragon but manages to control someone else's dragon. A girl yells at three others who were chatting in the hall saying to get out of the way, and Ash says he's never seen her in the class. His friend Raymond says she's a princess from a kingdom that I certainly don't remember the name of, and that despite having good grades everyone turns away from her for her hot temper. This girl there is just Patata. In contrast, the anime shows a girl called Rebecca, the president of the student council, who, unlike the blonde girl, is loved by everyone. The scene cuts another training of the students with their dragon. He explains that unarmed dragon combat is the basis for all other styles of battle, and Raymond lends his dragon to Ash since he doesn't have his own. The teacher warns all students to be very careful not to accidentally touch another student's dragon to avoid accident. The battle starts and the dragons start head-butting each other. These animals are kind of retarded fighting. All I know is that Ash had the advantage against an extra and his dragon until he went backwards and accidentally collided with the dragon of a girl. This girl that after the teacher has stopped training she still walks up to Ash and slaps him in the face, and he apologized for the accident. She is not just any girl but that blonde princess full of anger that I mentioned before. She says he needs to take his training more seriously, but he says the hit was unintentional. She recognizes him as the guy who hasn't summoned his dragon yet and starts making fun of him, and even goes so far as to say that his dragon may have died a long time ago. But what if he hasn't even been summoned yet? I don't think I'm understanding this anime. He gets pissed at her asking her to take back what she said and almost hits the shit on the poor thing if it weren't for his friend holding him. His friend explains that he gets pissed when they talk about his dragon, and Ash says he's not loose enough to accept what she said and just be quiet, so she proposes him a challenge. If he beat her at the upcoming festival she would apologize, and he accepts the challenge. The scene cuts on the day of the festival with the president of the student council saying that the prize for whoever wins the competition would be a date with her, and the cattle are already excited. Ash's friend almost takes the dragon back just to compete 2kkk. The princess, who is called Sylvia, then gives a speech 5 seconds before the competition and leave, and everyone starts talking bad about her for the speech. Must have got the speech on the internet. They say like brother like sister and start talking about her brother who was a great dragon slayer but was executed for breaking a big taboo, but that was a forbidden subject, so they stop talking. The scene cuts with the competition that would be a dragon race starting. Ash and Sylvia were kinda tied, but they couldn't move forward because a group of girls were blocking the way with their dragon. He then manages to make them flip over their dragon, but Sylvia in the biggest Sundra style says she wouldn't thank him, but he says he didn't even want to even. The anime shows several scenes of the race, and after that Ash appears off the path with his dragon, borrowed dragon, right? He assumes that the dragon being of the race that it is would never be able to compete with her dragon and imagines that the race is over there, but he says he wasn't sad because he liked running against her. He hears a noise in the bush, and when he goes to take a look he sees a large plane crash. According to a Satrange man it was not a plane but a ship of the Empire, and by his weapon Ash notes that he was a soldier of the Empire. Soon a girl attacks him and he runs away. She follows him and he asks why she is attacking if the Empire is his kingdom took a break from the war, but she replies that under the covers they are still fighting, and after reaching him she knocks him down, but when he protects herself she hesitates to finish him for some reason. He then fights back and she dodges, going to stop on the edge of the cliff. A rock ends up taking off, and when she was about to fall he holds her hand, pulls her away, falling on the cliff instead of her. When he thought it was the end he finally wakes up his partner, who is a girl with long hair, purple instead of a dragon. He falls to the ground slowly holding her and is scared because she is a human. He remembers what the woman told him in the dream, that he needed to prepare for her to trust him with her eye about to being born, but he looking at her says that despite looking like she is not the woman from Dream, and the first episode ends with him super confused. She later realizes that he he was seeing her without clothes, punches him that makes him fly away. He asks if she was his dragon and she replies that yes. He is happy and says that it would be a pleasure to be his master, but she hears that she gets mad and says that she is the master. This girl is crazy. He takes her to his room and she, besides complaining about the room, even throws herself on the bed and tells him to sleep somewhere else. He sleeps on the floor, and in the middle of the night at night she appears on top of him and starts to bite him, but basically she was sleeping and she did that because baby dragons have a habit of biting. In the morning President Rebecca enters his room wanting to see her dragon, and the guy who was there composing. She goes crazy when she sees a girl without clothes sleeping in Ash's room. She gives clothes to the dragon girl to wear and tells Ash that he would leave her and follow up with the school doctor, and meanwhile she would live there with him. The scene cuts with the two of them leaving school for her to explore the city. Basically she eats a crepe and soon after feels sick. Sylvia appears there and seeing that inappropriate situation that I'm going to show here, she gets very angry with Ash. Another girl who was with her gives her something to drink that makes her go back to normal, because that crepe contained a substance that is like alcohol for drag. She says that she was there to apologize to him for saying that her dragon could already be dead. He accepts that she apologizes and notices a strange woman watching the two behind a tent but ignores it thinking it was nothing. He says he thought of a name for her and calls her Echo, the same name that the first dragon breeder gave her dragon. An aura comes out of Echo that resonates with the strange mark on Ash's arm, and she says that the contract is concluded and now the two have astral flow connect. She says that she liked the name, and when she goes to the bathroom that woman from before appears behind her holding something strange. The scene cuts with Sylvia approaching Ash for spying on the women's bathroom, but he says he wasn't doing that but waiting for Eco, who hadn't left the bathroom yet. She and her maid enter, and when they return they say that only her beret and some powder were there, but she recognizes this powder as Fafnite, which is like a magic powder, and says that someone used it to kidnap her. He was going to run after her, but Sylvia stops him and tells him use the connection he has with her through the astral flow to find her. He thinks about her and soon butterflies that are only visible to him appear. Sylvia tells him to follow them because she would take him to where Eco was. The scene cuts with Eco trapped and the woman who arrested her saying she would use her as an experiment to find out how a dragon was born in the form of a human. Eco says she doesn't know either, and when she was about to become a guinea pig for this mine, Ash finds she, and with Sylvia's magic they manage to invade the place. The woman reveals herself to be the school's doctor who was going to research about Eco, but says that she kidnapped her to do it in a different way because she never heard of a dragon in the form of human before, so I really wanted to dissect it but the school wouldn't let it. It activates a magic circle that prevented them from summoning their dragons and casts a spell that makes Sylvia and her maid sleep. Ash almost sleeps too, but when he was almost falling into the sleep, Echo gives a scream and activates an aura that resonates with his mark, and so he gets up and knocks the doctor down, saving Echo. He thought it was all over until he went to school and found out that his new teacher was, guess what, who? Yes, the doctor. The next episode starts with Rebecca inviting Ash to be part of the student council in a very strange way. The scene cuts with Sylvia treating her dragon and saying that thanks to him becoming a maestro, which is an evolved dragon, she became a dragonar, a high and noble rank, and that would soon become an arch-dragonar, which is like the S rank of this anime, because she promised her brother that she would be a great knight. However, she starts thinking about Ash and does not understand how he succeeds use the other's dragon and thinks he has some trick up his sleeve. She gets a warning of an out-of-control dragon and goes there to see what it was. The anime goes back to the dialogue between him and Rebecca. She was trying to convince him to become member of the student council, saying that he needed your help, and in the middle of the conversation an alert is sounded. When they look out the window they see Sylvia trying to tame that dragon, and according to Rebecca she was trying because she does not like to be left behind, and since the Ash could tame any dragon she wanted to. Rebecca jumps out the window and summons her dragon to resolve the situation. Everything is resolved and the dragon is captured. The scene cuts to Ash talking to Eco, and in the background a girl runs and hides when she sees him. That's because she's the same girl who fought him before and he saved. She's surprised that he's alive and says her master can't know that. She goes back to her master and he asks how. Yes. She replies that in fact the people of this kingdom forgot about the war, and upon hearing that her master says that he already expected, he continues saying that the dragons there are not used for battles, but this friendly lifestyle needed to end, and basically he takes a giant sword in his hand hand and with it opens a gigantic portal on top of the whole city. And what comes out of that portal is a giant zombie dragon that starts to destroy the city. But once again, Rebecca was there to save the day and starts to fight this dragon. She throws a shot at his head, but he regenerates and returns the attack with a blast of energy. She asks Ash to take the princess out of there, and he asks the princess, who is Sylvia, to summon the dragon her for him to ride and save Eiko, who was captured. She summons the dragon and tells him to ride. The scene cuts with Eiko waking up in a strange place after being swallowed by the dragon. That woman who appeared in Ash's dream, called Navi, says to her who will guide her and teach her while she is still immature. She shows Ash fighting that dragon and tells her that he wouldn't last long because he didn't have one thing, an arch. She says that only one dragon level maestro could create an arch for its master. An arch is basically an armor, but the dragons that had to make the armor for their master. Navi gives Eiko a multitude of arch projects and tells her to find one compatible with him and produce the armor if she wanted to see him survive. She searches and searches until she finally finds and forges each of the parts of the armor. When Ash was about to die by the dragon, he receives the Echo armor and says that he feels unstoppable. He takes a ride on Sylvia's dragon and tells her that she has a great dragon. She didn't need to try to ride other dragons. Getting close to this zombie dragon, he says that it doesn't matter what this dragon, as long as it is a dragon, he will ride it low, then climbs on his head and manages to control him. Somehow he manages to talk to the dragon and understands that he wanted him to kill him, and that's what Ash does, going up to the clouds and summoning a giant sword. He hits the dragon with her and ends her suffering. When disappearing, the cloud that covered the sky disappears and Eiko appears falling in free fall. Ash flies to her to save her, and the episode ends with the two holding hands and smiling a pro another. It doesn't even seem like the two are falling without parachutes from an absurd height. The scene cuts with them celebrating Eiko's rescue and Rebecca inviting Ash and Sylvia to join the student council. The two accept and they make a toast to. The scene cuts showing a flashback of the injured child Sylvia crying and calling her dragon. Ash, who was also a child, appears and says that this way she would never find the dragon mother and tells her that he would carry her and the two would look for her. They're together. She, while remembering, says that this dragon mother presents the children with a dragon through the orphan ritual and asks where this boy who helped her is. She doesn't remember that it's Ash for some reason, and he doesn't even remember about it that Alzheimer's knocking. The scene cuts showing the public presentation of the three new members of the student council, Sylvia, Ash and Eiko. After the presentation, Ash starts his first job, which was to remove the flyers from the school wall that were placed there without authorization. What a useless job, huh? One of these pamphlets was a fan club of the Archdragon Knight who saved the city from that zombie dragon. That is, it is a fan club of his. Out of nowhere, the anime totally changes the atmosphere, showing a battle taking place where a ship was chasing a group of men on horseback. They saw a woman holding a sword and they said she was the iron-blooded Valkyrie, and she beat everyone up, made General swallow the sword. Going back to school, the anime shows a group of dust-smelling girls who are members of Ash's fan club, or rather, the guy who defeated the dragon, that is Ash, but nobody knows. Arrives General, the president, the vice and the whole band, one crazier than the other, wanting to know if anyone knows his identity. Sylvia asks her to leave because she is now responsible for the public morals of the school, but the president of this club, named Jessica, says that she has goals greater than the school rules, goals that include having a child with the guy who defeated the dragon. That's right, I said she's crazy, right? She says she knows that Sylvia was with him in the fight and asks her if she knew his identity, but she says no, and soon after Ash calls her attention saying that they were in class, but she calls him a commoner and ignores him. The situation is only resolved when Rebecca appears and says something in her ear that makes her so ashamed that she leaves in shame. In the student council room, Rebecca explains that what she said to the girl who made her leave was to threaten to expose her because she actually isn't really nobility, but anyone who has arch armor is considered nobility, so if this girl marries she would be a real noble. So Rebecca tells him to be careful and not reveal his identity. After that, they continue talking and Sylvia finds out that her sister, a princess, would come to town because of the zombie dragon attack, and upon hearing this, Sylvia bends down and looks desperate. The scene cuts showing that her sister is that Valkyria who messed up that group riding a horse a little earlier. That girl with purple hair who I never know if she's a friend or Sylvia's maid explains to Ash that her sister has subjected her to several intense trainings since she was a child and that has left her traumatized. That's why she is afraid of. Thanks to a cream that her maid puts on her, she has a good night of sleep, and the next day she wakes up ready to see her sister. While leaving the room, another flashback of when Ash helped her in childhood appears, and she says that she promised him that she would be a great warrior. The scene cuts with Ash, Echo and other characters waiting for the princess's arrival. They are surprised that Sylvia hadn't come to see her arrival, but just when they say that, Sylvia appears and with a smile on her face tells them not to underestimate her and says that despite Ash having seen her in a moment of weakness, she was fine. The episode episode ends with her sister's ship landing and she descends with her yellow hair in the wind. And that was the summary of Saikaku no Dragonoff. Don't ask me for a complete summary of this anime because it's ecchi and I don't like it. So that's all.